We're doing Dr. Leonard Jefreys. It's a pleasure to be here with
My
you.
pleasure, okay.
Definitely. I did not at all expect that I was going to run into Dr. Jefreys tonight. But, you know, it's my luck. So I just want to congratulate you, first of all, for all the work that you have done in terms of educating our people in Harlem. I first heard about you on Mutabaruka show. Okay. When I was in Jamaica.
That's right.
I didn't know that I would one day be sitting here with the great Dr. Leonard Jefreys. How long has it been since you have been involved in this work of re-educating?
Well, when I went to Dakar, Senegal a couple months ago, and I was with a lot of the leaders from Africa and the Caribbean and Latin America, and I said, I'm celebrating my 50th year of coming through Africa and the Caribbean, and I've been every year except 1967. In 1967, I didn't come because you had the urban explosion in Newark, New Jersey, my hometown, the so-called riots, and then after that you had the Black Power Conference, so there was reason for me to stay home. But every year since 1961, I've been either in the islands of the Caribbean or on the African continent, trying to form our people into a global family. And Muta, you mentioned him, he most recently, in the fall, this past fall, wanted to interview me. And so I said, well, why don't you come to my class? So they actually filmed the class and my teaching, and that went back to Jamaica for his TV show.
That's a blessing.
So, you know, I go back and forth to Jamaica often. That's the birthplace of very conscious Africans such as Marcus Mosiah Garvey. And then also nation builders and Pan-Africanists such as Ambassador Dudley Thompson. So I just brought him and his wife, Cecile, to Howard University from Fort Lauderdale to be a part of the ASCAC conference, the Association for the Study of Classical African Civilization. We had a conference which we thought we'd have 200, maybe 300 people. We had 500. And it was alive with young people and the elders and the women. And so I was glad that he was able to come. He's 94. It's ironic that Ambassador Dudley Thompson, born in Panama, of Jamaican parents, raised in Jamaica, he became a leader during the Manley period, a Pan-Africanist, the lawyer for Jomo Kenyatta. And I took him to see a play, Thurgood Marshall, a couple years ago. And because he spent some time in New York. And he looked at me and he said, Len Jefreys, you know we were born on the same day. I said, what are you joking about, Ambassador? He said, yes, I'm born January the 19th. You're born January the 19th. 20 years apart. So for the last few years, we've been celebrating our birthday together in Fort Lauderdale. And then we bring in people so we can have a brain. We can celebrate, but we can also rededicate ourselves to mapping out a plan for the African world. So it's so great to have a brother. I just had my 74th birthday, so I'm supposed to be over the hill, ready for the grave. But to have a Dudley Thompson, mind still sharp, body fading, but the mind is sharp as a whip. To have him still active, we formed an organization called the World African Diaspora Union. He's the president, I'm the vice president. It's so fantastic to have a brother who's on my back. How come we get this done? Dr. J, you said you were going to do this. It didn't happen. I called you 3 times. I mean, it's just fantastic to have this going on. We have a conference call a couple of weeks ago where people from around the country call in as part of our organization. And for 2 or 3 hours, we're having this important conference call. And this active mind at 94 is dominating the conference call. And so it's beautiful to have the wisdom and the encouragement of the elders to be a part of the process of building.
Definitely. I've realized that a conscious mind and a healthy body is always sharp.
Well, you need more than that. You need the trilogy. You need mind, body, and spirit togetherness. But we suffer from a toxic mind. It's been too much infusion of whiteness, the wrong type of whiteness, white superiority, white exploitation, white nationalism. We have a toxic body because we have too much infusion of whiteness. We eat too much whiteness, white rice, white potatoes, white macaroni, cheese, all these things. We should have a plate of color for our body. We should have a plate of color for the nourishment of our mind. And then the third and the summit, the foundation is the mind and the body, but the summit is the spirit. And we really need to have an African spirituality as well as African knowledge in our mind development and African foods in our food development. Now, once we have those three things working for us, we'll be on our way in terms of real development. Unfortunately, most of us are stuck at the level of survival development. You know, the foods that we eat, that codfish that you eat, that's survival.
Yeah,
that was brought from England, the North Sea, heavy salted, so we could work the plantations. And the pork and stuff that we eat in Black America, that's survival culture. Now, that stuff got us across, but that's not going to allow us to function in this global world community where people are rising with power. The Asians are rising. First it was the Japanese out there as honorary whites. Even during the apartheid regime in South Africa, they were considered honorary whites. And then the Indians started moving with the high tech and getting the Indian population from the Indian subcontinent together. And now the Chinese have produced the most significant revolution in the history of the world within 30 years. And bridging communism and capitalism, and then reaching all over the world, and then claiming a special place in the world because they are people of color. So that means that they don't come with the baggage of white, barbaric, predator capitalism. And so, but they have their own plans. So we as African people need to study the European, we need to study the Indian, we need the Indian from India, we need to study the various Asian people such as the Chinese, we need to study all types of Europeans, we need to study the Arabs, and then we need to study ourselves.
Yes, because they all study us anyway.
They know us, and they know our weaknesses, they know how to play us against each other, they know our historical dilemmas that we haven't, challenges that we haven't resolved, and so we need to have a global expansion of knowledge.
Truly. And I did a similar interview with Dr. Layla Africa, and I asked him this question: what is the major issue that is affecting our black community? And he summed it up beautifully. He said, addiction to white sugar.
Addiction, let's expand it. I believe in systems analysis. Addiction to the white systems.
Right.
And that means the white system of nourishment, eating. That means the white system of thinking. That means the white system of social relationship. That means the white system of how you treat nature. That means the white systems of governance. That means the white systems of spirituality. We're addicted to whiteness, and it has devastated our people. We suffer greatly, as our great scholar Dr. Wade Noble said, we suffer greatly from a shattered consciousness and a fractured identity. And with that, the European is able to find his way in to prevent us from fulfilling our destiny. We're born to win. Truly. African peoples are the foundation peoples of the world. We're born to win, but we're programmed to lose. We're programmed. Now we have to figure out how to deprogram, understand that programming to lose, and deprogram it. A book that everybody should get, of course, is Blueprint for Black Power by Dr. Amos Wilson. When you talk about the Caribbean, you got Dr. Walter Rodney, How Europe Undeveloped Africa. Dr. Eric Williams, Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, his book From Columbus to Castro, or his PhD, Capitalism and Slavery. Of course, from Jamaica, all of Marcus Garvey's writings and works, Philosophy and Opinions, and others.
Life and Lessons, that's a key book from Marcus Garvey.
And then you have the life and the lessons from Malcolm X. and his autobiography. And then within the context of the United States, one of my greatest writers is, that I appreciate most, is Lerone Bennett. He wrote the book, The Shaping of Black America, which changed the way I teach, because it's not just a compilation of facts and a linkage chronologically of historical periods. He deals with concepts. And so when I try to teach, I talk about going to the top of the pyramid to the capstone, concepts, analysis, processes, and systems. And then I added values, interests, and principles, VIP. For the European, VIP is a very important person. For the African, it's African values, African interests, African principles. So those 7 issues, concepts, analysis, processes, and systems, values, interests, and principles, you have to put in place for anything you do. And you have to use that combination of things to get clarity. What concepts are we talking about? Are we talking about empowerment? Are we talking about economic exploitation? Are we talking about socialization? Are we talking about development? What concepts are involved? What analyses? And you should see things from several different perspectives. And that gives you a wider, a deeper analysis. And then there are always processes at work. Economic, political, social, psychological, cultural, cosmic processes. The Japanese found out that there are cosmic processes. There are global processes, and they got hit with an earthquake, which is part of a global process of the shifting of the plates. And then the tsunami came in place. That's a cosmic process. And so Japanese is going to take a time for them to recover. They have the capability of recovering because they're a highly developed nation and they're a very disciplined nation. But it's interesting to see, within a period of a couple of years, the poorest nation in the Western Hemisphere, Haiti, devastated. And then the most successful nation, the Japanese, devastated. So it's clear that there's a larger developmental process that we need to tap into as we go forth. And that's why my mentor, Dr. John Henry Clark, following the thinking and the vision of Marcus Garvey and Martin Delany and these other forerunners, Dr. Clark said it best, it's a question of Pan-Africanism or perish. Either we find an operational Pan-Africanism for the global African family, or we will perish. Because these other families are finding their way. There's the global Chinese family, and it's moving around the world. And it's interested in linking up resources around the world for the benefit of Mother China. There's a global Indian family. And our folks in the Caribbean and the folks in East Africa need to appreciate and understand it. Those East Indians that came to East Africa have a network, and they're linking it to Mother India. And in the Caribbean, you have the wealthiest of the Caribbean nations, Suriname, Guyana, and Trinidad and Tobago, where you have the mineral wealth and gold and other things, oil. They're heavily populated by the East Indians that came over as indentured servants during the time of slavery. We defeated slavery and we ended it. And so they are now linking back to Mother India. So it is not just that the Trinidadians or the Guyanese or the Surinamese are dealing with the local Indian descent population. And I'm not talking about the Native American indigenous, I'm talking about those that came in by the British to fulfill the labor need. The black people went up into the hills rather than go back into the plantation. And so this group now sees its destiny tied not just with the people of the islands, but with Mother India as it rises. So what is happening now on the global scale, which I'm so filled with, is that African leaders have said there's a global rise of the African family. And they captured it in this monument in Senegal, where you have the rise of the black man, a strong black man, shoulders broad, holding onto his rock, his wife in one hand, and then holding up his child in the other hand. And the child is not looking at the dad or the mother. The child is pointing to the future. And he's not pointing to north, to the European. He's not pointing east to Asia or to Mecca. He's not pointing south to Africa. The child is pointing west to the Western Hemisphere. It is the linkage of the Africans, the hundreds of millions of Africans in the Western Hemisphere who have all this education, all of this exposure, with the African continent that will create a new future.
Okay.
And, that's where we are moving. That's the new tsunami for African peoples, and I'm glad to be riding these waves as I move around the world.
The sun will shine in the west.
Yes, the sun will shine forever. There's no setting of the sun. That's misunderstanding. The sun is forever shining. And African peoples in their early cultures, and even to this day, put the sun in the center of their work, of their world, and it's the center of the many, 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 many worlds that there are. The many suns, the concept of the sun, the eternal light. And we're going to go, my buddy just came in, Brother Taki, we're going to be going up to the Boston Museum of Fine Arts in April or so. Is it April or May? Taki will be going up and dealing with the Nubian culture. And we are working hard to link Nubia in the south, into Sudan and southern Egypt, with Kemet, Egypt in the north, because it's a flow back and forth of cultures. And at the center of that culture was an understanding of the power and the meaning of the sun. And so Japan is not the land of the rising sun, that's their terminology. But the sun does not rise, it is forever.
So basically, what I get is that basically our survival is determined on our ability to come together, nationalize.
Right, and
nation.
to put our work into systems capability. Every system has 3 dimensions. When your mother meets your father, and he has his way with her, their interaction, that good sex, produces a synthesis, the child. One of the basic laws of nature, that you are a composite. If your mother doesn't add her 23, and your father doesn't add his 23 chromosomes, then that synthesis in one cell will not be a human. But if you have the 46 chromosomes, you have the basis for a cell. In that one cell, this is the genius of God and the Creator. In that one cell are the 3 Ps. The past, going back to the billions of people that were on planet Earth from the beginning. The present, linking you to all of the 6 to 7 billion people that are now existing on the planet. And the potential and the possibilities for the future are all in that one cell. But if you don't have a plan for development, and those systems don't kick in, then that cell won't develop into the complexity of the human, who is a complex of cells. And every system has 3 dimensions. Using that pyramidal framework that I use to try to explain things, thesis, antithesis, synthesis, every cell has an economic capability, a political capability, and a cultural capability. The economic capability is your productive, creative capacities and capabilities. Every cell, every system has to be productive or creative, otherwise it dies. So you have to have a science of economics and development, internal cell development and external cosmic development. And then, but that economic productivity won't work for you unless there's a politics. There's a science of politics. There are laws of politics. Politics is your management capability. So economics, productive capability, is linked up with politics, your management capability, and that is the foundation of all systems. Whether you're talking about the cellular system, whether you're talking about your bodily systems, the dozen major systems of your body, whether you're talking about the social system in which the families have to live, or the biological system that grows the family, or the environmental system in which we have to live, or the cosmic system in which we survive and grow and develop it. So you have to have this systems understanding in order to be able to do what you have to do. Economics, politics, and culture is the mind. Culture is the values. So we need to detox. Detox the mind, detox the body, detox the culture of the mind, and then began to put in the nutrients, the real knowledge, the wisdom of our ancestors and the current scientific knowledge, and then put them together, and then we'll be on our way. We'll have a system capability as opposed to, and we'll have system cultural development as opposed to survival culture and arrested development.
So why is it that our people don't listen to teachers like yourself who are dedicated,
Well, they do.
livicated?
No, they do. They do.
Why do they still sit
No,
and listen to all the
they
same
do. They do.
repetitive?
When I got on that bus today, coming from the UAM, when I went into the subway to catch the train uptown, I was stopped by 2 or 3 or 4 people that were my students. I don't even remember them, but they know me, and they said, keep on doing what you're doing. When I got up to 125th Street and I got on the bus became Dr. Jeffrey, Dr. Jeffrey, Dr. Jeffrey's from everywhere. So even the bus driver told me to go on, don't worry about the money. You know, so I'm saying that just the sense of my coming here was a reflection that there is something going. But at the same time that we're pushing the increased knowledge of Africa and understanding of African peoples and our systems and our organizations, the European predator system did not die. It's not dying. It knows how to blood suck and get new life. And so while we are moving as best we can and not strong enough, his system is growing by leaps and bounds because he is flexible. He's pragmatic. Just as the white Afrikaners in South Africa said, we got a race classification. We have a place, an African heaven for African peoples, an African heaven for colored peoples, an African heaven for Asian peoples, an African heaven for the Afrikaner, African heaven for the white English background people. But he allowed the Japanese to create an honorary white heaven for themselves. And so he makes his adjustment. The Indians are emerging. So now he brings them in. The Indians are honorary whites. Our country has been inundated by Indians coming in, especially when they had that Y2K scare, and they said they needed technology to handle computers. That was an excuse to bring in a couple of million Indians. And they brought in their families and others. And so there has been a strong Indian input. And so I'm saying that when we begin to understand, he expands his system by including honorary whites. But the one people he will not allow to have honorary white status because he knows we are the real deal.
Right.
We are the mothers and fathers of humanity. And so he's put in place plans to lock us down forever.
Yes,
and that's the war that we're engaged in. Some people understand it, some people are afraid to deal with it, other people have become traitors to it. But his system is growing. And the Chinese, the biggest coup that he could get is to take communist China, which was the only real communist nation, Russia never was, to have communist China now his bed partner in producing a new world that has the Africans locked down. And so that's what we got to begin to understand. That's what we got to begin to work again.
I know you got to go, so we're going to wrap it up quickly. But
and then you'll get my bill.
No problem. But you see, what I want to say, I look in Brooklyn, I look at all of the corner stores. They are run by these Indian people. All these people. This is in the middle of the black neighborhoods. If it's not Europeans who run the big corporations, the Indians, they run the corner store.
But if you don't have your mind,
in
if someone else...
Jamaica, it's the same thing. The Chinese are now taking over, and the black man is suppressed all the time. And at the same time, in the academic, it is now accepted that Africa is the cradle of civilization. I don't think they dispute this.
But what they're doing in the academic realm is they're destroying the African Studies program that we developed over the last 30 or 40 years that can continue to nourish this truth. They are now destroying systematically all of these programs. At the City University of New York, the City College, we developed the largest Black Studies program in the world. At its height, when I came in to expand it in 1970, it went into the 1980s, etc. We had thousands of students, larger than history, larger than political science, but they have deconstructed it now. And so the struggle continues.
Definitely struggle continues. So the tape is done. I think it's